Today in our hot seat, we have Nic McMahon, the CEO of United Language Group. Hi, Nic. Good to have you.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
It's really good to have you here, Nic. So are you ready? Shall we do this?
Let's do it.
Welcome to C-Suite Hot Seat, the show where we put C-level executives from language service providers of all sizes in the hot seat. We will ask tough questions and get inspired answers. Our hosts today are Nimdzi Inge Boonen, VP of Consulting, and Sarah Hickey, VP of Research.
In one sentence, what is it actually that your company does?
We provide language solutions, and so we do cover a broad range of language solutions, including interpretation, translation, and then also an area which is kind of unusual for the industry called healthcare outcome solutions. In any regard that language touches a company and there is a solution that can be created, then that's effectively what United Language Solutions does.
What's the first career that you dreamed of having as a kid?
I always play it a little bit by ear. So I believe I was a little lost soul. So I was never entirely sure what to do from a career perspective. And honestly, when you ask me, I still reflect, I'm probably still trying to work out what I want to do when I grow up. But you know, there have been many exciting things I've managed to have the opportunity to do. But I still, I have a passion for physics. I have a very interesting sort of side view of capital access inequality. And I think, I want to continue to develop. I want to keep going. I don't think I've decided quite yet. And it's worked so well. It's worked this far so well. So I'll continue on that plan.
What are your hobbies?
Perhaps in difference for some of the people that you've had in the hot seat already, I've recently become CEO. And so actually, when I sort of reflect on what do I do, I really don't do much else right now. So there are two things I do. Is I work. I try to work extremely hard on behalf of the people within ULG. And then I think, where I do have time right now, I think family. I ride my bike a lot and I'll listen to physics books when I'm riding my bike. I regard myself as a very regular person. I came up through the ranks. I worked very hard, at different levels of an organization. Started off as a junior project manager in localization. And so the capital access thing is something that's very interesting because really when you start to look at the way a company works and operates, your ability as an entrepreneur or anyone to access capital and then the requirements that come with that capital actually does create a lot of inequality in terms of who has access to start companies, who can create opportunities. And it's an area that I've recently become very interested in terms of trying to work out, as you try to resolve, many of the disparities that we have, within society. Capital access is something that I think is well worth taking a look at. I think it could fundamentally change the way that a lot of different groups could be able to prosper and grow within a society that currently is effectively cut off from them.
If you had a chance to visit different countries, which three would you choose?
I feel like I very consciously, live in America. Like I actually think America is a great country, and it's challenging. But to see, the unification of so many different cultures and so many different people on such a large scale. When you travel, let's say to New York, you travel to Nebraska, they are radically different. When you compare it to Europe, it's definitely country to country. So I do find America very interesting, and it's one of the areas I would like to travel more in. My wife is Chinese. Now we have 2 children. And I feel like it would be an area that I'd like to, get more immersed in and to understand better. So I'd like to spend more time in China. As you look at different cultures around the world, I am still innately English. And as an adult, I'm now split very heavily between the 2 countries, between America and England. And so I always try to find a little bit more time to spend in England so I can connect with my broader family too, who is, it does feel quite a long way away sometimes.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Not taking things so seriously, for a long part of my life, I was very serious. I was a very serious individual. And I thought that every single moment mattered. And I think as I've become older, the journey really does matter. It's the interactions with people. It's the experience of culture. It's the day-to-day enjoyment of being alive. Like is really the most fundamental thing. And I think when people say to me like, hey, you should relax, or just calm down, Nick, it's going to be okay. Carol's was like, yeah, you can say that, but I got to get this thing done. And I think as I got older, I'm like, I've seen the wisdom in their advice, and I've started to try to find more time to enjoy the process of life and the cultures of life, and find that time to relax and take their advice.
Did you have like a breakthrough moment in your career that you can tell us about?
I think a thing that was truly a breakthrough moment for me was when we sold VIA, which was a previous company, into ULG. We became part of the ULG family. And the thing that was at the aha moment was, it's all about people. And I think as a CEO, you get this focus of like, oh, it's the CEO, right? And you're like the sort of head of the point of the spear or whatever, right? And you're trying to charge a path through and everyone follows you. And I always knew, right? If you'd ever asked me as a project manager, as a director, as an operations VP, I would have said, yeah, it's all about the people. But I said it in a very third party leader-like way, where it was like my people, right? The team that I'm leading. When we sold VIA into ULG, and you see the actual value that's driven from an organization, it fundamentally shifted my view on how the value of a business is fundamentally created. And it is created by the fabric of the culture within the business. It is all people. It's every decision is people. And so what I've tried to do from a leadership point of view is, a lot of people think of leadership, whether it's point of a spear, it's always a line, top to bottom. But it's not a tool the way a business works. When you're the leader, people are choosing to give you the gift of leadership. They're choosing to give their careers and allow their careers to be driven and directed by you, as much as you've chosen to take on that responsibility. And it's this mesh of culture, this mesh of people, that fundamentally drives value in an organization.
How do you motivate your team? Because you were just talking about people a lot, and the value that this also brings for them. So how do you motivate your team?
When you come to work, you're giving us a significant portion of your life, right? It's a significant endeavor of the amount of time you're alive. And we have a burden to try to give back to you in terms of progression. Now, it's professional, right? I can't say to somebody like, hey, why don't you go to Kathmandu, and sit cross-legged under an oak tree for 3 years, right? It's like, it's not possible for us to create that. But we can say, hey, why don't you go and experience different offices? Why don't we provide a career path that's based entirely on your ability to do the job, right? So we can remove things like degrees requirements within job levels. So say like, no, if you can do the job, if you can show that you have the ability and experience, then we will reward that ability and experience. And then we can send those people to different offices so they can experience different cultures and different interactions. And we can support them and unlock their desire to do their job, so people can truly come and be the best they can be at ULG. And when we go around ULG and we see people that have been able to build careers and achieve, human experience interactions, it's tremendously rewarding for us. But when you see what that does to the people around them, it is remarkable. People want that. People want to do well. But I think businesses do a pretty good job of getting in their way. And it's you do it on the basis that once somebody did this fraudulent transaction in one of your countries. So you're like, yeah, we'll make a new rule that stops everybody making any decisions. So then you sort of stiff 99% of your workforce to protect yourself from 1%. And it's crazy. You must make rules for the good people. And if you've really got people that are going to defraud your company, you need to work, they'll work out of the business. But you can't make rules for those people. So the human experience is how we motivate people, and we look for ways to sort of give them an enriching, rewarding human experience that allows them to professionally develop, right?
Most of us, at least, we stumble a little bit, we fall, we pick ourselves up again. So maybe, can you recall what maybe either your biggest failure or mistake was in your career and what you've learned from it?
Yeah. I've had loads. Maybe that's why I'm so good at it, because I became a professional era. So I've had loads. This one, I went to Lionbridge, and Lionbridge is a great company. There's certainly no problem with Lionbridge. We're a great company, but it's like, from a cultural fit, it was not me. And the reason I went to Lionbridge is because they offered me a lot of money. And I was young and I'm like, sweet, I should totally do that. But I didn't know about the culture, and I didn't think about the cultural fit, and I didn't think about my ability to do something or to achieve something. I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to take that big job. And they're like, you're a VP of blah, blah. And I'm like, sweet, I'm a VP of blah, blah. Like, life is going to be good. And I went there and it was awful. Like, it was absolutely awful. Like, I failed them. Like I was not able to find a way to drive value for the organization. I spent 2 years trying to work out like, how do I drive value, and going all over the place. And it was a very, very challenging time for me. A lot of people say like, well, just take the money and relax. But per my previous comment, but, I'm not very good at it. So I was like, no, I want to drive value. And I just could not find a way to drive value. So I spent 2 years desperately looking to drive value. And it was a terrible, terrible mistake. If you're not at the poverty level and somebody offers you money, you need to take the money. Because if you're at the poverty level and you get income, it solves tremendous problems for you, and you really need it. But let's say you're a little bit further ahead in your career, and you're looking at something that is going to drive value. Like money is that there is no such thing as free money. It's never as easy as that. And I would really, really say like my biggest failing was chasing money. And I'm not just saying it because, I like to pay our people. Like they should be paid appropriately. Like, if, this will go out. They'll be like, you said I should be paid appropriately. I want to pay right. But it's like, but you should pay people appropriately. Like it's an important part of a business, an important part of a personal return, but never take a job, unless you're at the poverty line, or I guess if they give you $1 million, if they offer you $1 million, you should take it and deal with the pain. But generally speaking, you should not pick a career for money. Like that was my failing. And your personal happiness and your personal ability to deliver value is worth much more than any immediate return. Later on, you'll get the return for it, I'm sure. But immediately, don't chase just money. It's a dead end.
Did you have someone, or do you still have someone that you also consider some sort of like a mentor as well in your career? Is there someone that stands out?
There are a bunch of people that have helped me and sort of continue to help me. So, Dominic Kinnan, Kathleen Bostick, from my past, like they've been very helpful. Kristen Giovannis, who was the CEO before me at ULG, has been, extremely helpful and visible. James Dodson, Sarah Lafay on my team, who run specific components within our business. Like they're extremely insightful. Every meeting I have with them, I would like to say, and maybe, they'll tell you in the comments, like I would like to say that I add my part of value, but they definitely return tremendous value to me too. Aaron Hackinson has helped a lot in terms of how we organize the business, but it's, I very much see it as a sort of a network. I'm thinking of it like Mark Lancaster. I feel like it's the Oscars. There are a lot of people that have helped me along the way and helped me to improve and continue to do so.
But, sometimes we have like certain strengths, and then we need someone from a completely different personality type to complement those strengths with a completely different skill set, maybe.
Yep.
What type of person is that for you? Like, who do you need like by your side as your sidekick, basically, to balance that out?
And then I feel like being cheeky. I don't know what but I need a bunch of sidekicks. Like, so it wouldn't be like Batman and Robin. Like, I need Batman and the gang. It's more like it's the Avengers. It's more like the Avengers. Like, I need a whole group of people. We drive the human experience. Like, the human experience is only possible when we achieve profitable goals, right? And so it's a trade-off. And so one doesn't exist without the other. And I think a business can make a mistake if you're like, okay, it's all profit, because your profit will be short-lived, because you can't create profit without a community. The community drives the value. So they have to be in balance. And it's also true that if that community doesn't achieve goals and doesn't have clear views and clear objectives, then you can't create the revenue source for the community. Effectively, CFO, I need a CFO who's strong. I have Marty internally here at United Language Group that keeps me on track, keeps me focused. And I'm like, it's all going to be great. And he's like, well, you should check the numbers, Nick. And it's like, oh, what a downer. But it's an important part of our aspect in terms of what drives the business forward. And then also, even our equity partners, they are more focused on profit, right? Their business is money, right? That's what they do. But the equity partners is extremely useful because they bring an outside of the industry perspective. From my team of Avengers, they'll come and say like, hey, this is happening in that market. And hey, you should look at this business profile. We naturally want to narrow our vision, right? So it's much easier. We narrow our vision and start to focus on the things we know, because it allows us to get more efficiency out of our brains. But the PE group's very good at sort of opening that back up and saying like, hey, you got to look over here, look over there. What I have to do as an individual is just make sure that I'm making a conscious choice about, do you ring up the Hulk or do you ring up Thor? What's the, given the type of alien invasion that you're dealing with, what's the right adventure to call?
What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs starting their own business in the language industry today?
Yeah, that's pretty solidified in my mind. So be accountable, be transparent and be honest. And it's like, don't sort of create barriers between you and your mistakes. Like, just accept them. Like your mistakes are an inevitable part of success. Like if you're going to succeed, I've never met anyone that's perfect. I've never met anyone that doesn't. So don't put up a barrier between you and your failures by saying like, oh, that was really this and that was really that. You know in your heart whether or not that was something you could have improved on. And if it's something you can improve on, even if other people could improve on their elements too, don't put up a wall and start to focus on that side of thing and separate yourself from your mistake. Accept it, be transparent, be accountable, and be honest about it. Because the quicker you focus on that mistake and the reality of it, and the quicker you focus on what you can do to improve, the faster you can build momentum to, what hopefully is an end goal of success. But it's tricky. It's tricky to self-reflect and realize that we're all a bunch of idiots, right? We're geniuses too. Like, it's great, but very few of us are 100% genius or 100% idiot. We're most of us are in the middle.
Yeah, it's a gray area for sure.
That's right. Yeah, we're all in that gray bit. But it's but as much as you can bring down, internally, right? As much as you bring down those barriers and can identify it and see where you can improve and grow, it just helps you do it faster.
Thank you so much, Nic, for joining us in the hot seat. It was really amazing. Thank you. I hope you didn't sweat too much. That wasn't too hot.
Very friendly. You're both very nice. So I feel like it could be a lot worse. I was actually weirdly nervous about it.
Maybe it was more like the lukewarm seat today.
Yeah. If anyone else feels like letting off some steam and you're part of the C-suite at a company in the language services industry, sign up with us if you dare to sit in our hot seat.
Yeah, and for the viewers at home, thank you so much for watching. This was it for today, but look out for the next episode that will be published as a video on MultiLingual TV and as a podcast on the Nimdzi website. So we'll see you there.